The quest within, Nivritti Marga. This is the quest that many seekers of truth have engaged in. Whether it is that quest to know oneself, or the quest to know God, or the quest to understand the reality of creation. Many seekers, philosophers, have embarked on this journey. Sometimes this quest has come about as a means of our own suffering in life, or dissatisfaction with the way life is, or lack of contentment. Something in life seems incomplete. It doesn't give us that complete satisfaction. Or we constantly come across some disappointment, some pain, some suffering. Or it could also be that we peek a higher truth, a higher reality. We glimpse some sublime joy, some sublime peace, which seems more real, more lasting. And we embark on this journey. We seek out some teacher, some teaching, or some practices. They fill us with hope. They fill us with light. They renew our enthusiasm. And we go back again to our lives. We pick it up from where we left off with some new hope, new enthusiasm. But after a while, the inner quest seems to diminish again. We are caught again in that ensnares of worldliness, samsara, that cycle which takes us outward and brings us to suffering, pain, dissatisfaction, lack of contentment. So the Nivritti Marga, that inner path, the upward path, is compromised for the Pravritti Marga, that path of outwardness, worldliness, driven by senses, mind, to seek pleasures, to seek joy, to keep ourselves amused and engaged with that objects of the world, which even though might sometimes seem justified, we may be engaged in fulfilling our responsibilities of life towards others. We may be engaged in doing some work, some research, some new kind of discoveries. But all those might still keep us away from knowing the true reality of ourselves, the true reality of God. As long as we not fulfill that, as we have not fulfilled this inner quest, that inner journey, we will never find that contentment, happiness outward. There are obstacles or that engagements or that pursuits of outwardly which pull us back again and again in the worldliness is our own samskaras, our own mental patterns. We have cultivated that over months, years, and perhaps lifetimes. As the Indian scriptures say that these samskaras, these kleshas are the cause of our outward going mind. And no matter how much we want to engage in, follow the teachings, the teacher, the inner resistance comes up. And this inner resistance manifests as outward obstacles, challenges, doubts, and many other ways. When our enthusiasm for the inner path goes low, when we are not engaging full-heartedly, when we are just listening the teachings but not applying it, when we are practicing but not going through that real practices from our heart, when we are not seeing that breakthroughs, insights in our path, then we have to look at that inner resistance. We have to question that lack of enthusiasm has lack of dedication, lack of commitment. It's also a testing time for us. We have to keep checking whether the mind is not engaging fully, the heart is not committed deeply. If that is so, then the answer lies in only making that effort to move forward, bringing in that enthusiasm, bringing in that commitment. Every now and then, the world will seem to pull us more naturally, and this inward path seems unnatural. So that is where we have to engage in this highest effort of all effort, the moksha purushartha, the highest of all the efforts. More than the effort for seeking worldly wealth, worldly joys, or even to walk the path of righteousness. Sometimes all of this can come because of our own arrogance, our own unwillingness. When we feel too justified in our own ways, when we feel too stuck and unwilling to listen to the teachings, the teachers, and all the masters who are left us with wisdom. When we are not humble enough to yield to that higher truth, but stuck in our own kind of deductive truth, logic, our own assumptions, then the path becomes dry. But very soon, when we stay in that state, we find that the worldliness again brings us unhappiness, discontentment. Because until we find that supreme joy, that supreme peace, that contentment, nirvana, as the Buddha put it, we will not really be able to rest. We might find comfort temporarily. We may want to go back to those comfort zones, but they will never fulfill us. They will never complete us. So the only way out is the way in, as the popular saying goes. And this is the Nivritti Marga, the inward path, the higher path. And despite whatever responsibilities we have, despite whatever engagements we have, if we do not seek it, our outer work also will all have that shades of suffering and discontentment. So the real journey, whether you are engaged outwardly or completely in that inner quest, is to be dedicated to it. Service, practices, and all this are helpful aids, but only when we are deeply committed within. Any other form of engagement also on the spiritual path, if we are teaching, or if we are studying, or if we are creating some work for some organization, spiritual organizations, all these are helpful aids, but yet they are not complete in itself. In fact, they're all a hindrance if it is not allowing you to move on the spiritual path. The deep renunciation of all mental engagement, any attachment, whether to any kind of spiritual work also, is that ultimate commitment we have to make. It is a path where we completely dedicate in the mind, in the heart, and that is where we shall see that results. We shall see that joy, that peace. And until we are able to commit to that, we have to keep checking. We have to keep seeing why this inner resistance is coming. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.